Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 19 sees Yodo, Arya, Mitsuki, and Sarada fighting against Ryu. Now, the interesting thing about this fight is the main two attackers are Mitsuki and Sarada, with Yodo and Arya providing support. So Arya is using the Lodestone Sand Sealing Blade to bring together or to fight against Ryu's Iron Sand. And then Yodo is supposed to be the sensory ninja calling out where Ryu goes when he transforms into the Iron Sand. So they're basically supporting Mitsuki and Sarada, who are the main attackers, okay? So when Ryu appears and unleashes the Claw Grimes, it forces everybody to fight them. It forces everybody to go into attack mode. And the cool thing about this moment is Yodo starts fighting the Claw Grimes. But when she's fighting them, it appears that one of them bites her. So they just like get on top of her and they bite like on her shoulder right here. Now, normally I would assume she would turn into a tree, right? Because that's what we've seen time and time again. But they bit her and nothing happened. So either the Claw Grime has to evolve on its own and then bite somebody, or the Claw Grimes themselves, it's just select, right? Maybe it's give and take. It's unclear exactly how it works, because I would assume that maybe the upgraded Claw Grimes, like the ones that got the Renegon eye, when they bite somebody, that's when they turn into a tree. But this one just seemed like a regular Claw Grime, I guess. You know, there's probably differences between them. So either it's the Claw Grime isn't evolved enough to transform Yodo into a tree, or it's Yodo is somehow immune to getting turned into a tree, or that it's selective in who to choose to become a Shinju or turn into a tree. It's very odd, but it was kind of crazy that in that moment she didn't transform into a tree, you know? Arya then goes in to strike with the blade. It gets caught. Ryu sends the Claw Grime away, taking away his Lodestone Sand Sealing Blade, and that's how we're in the situation we are now, where they have no defense against Ryu's Iron Sand now, and they have to figure out a new plan. But Yodo got bit by the Claw Grime. Now, does that mean that if Sarada got bit by a Claw Grime, she wouldn't turn into a Shinju? I don't know. It just depends on two factors. If Sarada isn't worthy enough to become a Shinju or isn't strong enough to become one. Maybe there's like a baseline level of strength that you have to have. But then again, Bug turned into a Shinju, and he's not particularly strong all on his own, right? You can understand maybe Moegi, Sasuke, Ryu. You can understand just about those ones, right? Or you could understand like Boruto getting bitten, right? And turn into he wouldn't get turned into a Shinju. They would just like devour him, so that way they could evolve into the to get the chakra food. They would turn into the tree, the divine tree, I guess. But you get my point, is that maybe it's the person that gets devoured that turns them into the Shinju, or it's the Claw Grimes evolved enough to whoever they bite turn into a Shinju. Because supposedly, I guess Jura just takes on the human form of that random person who saved Sarada, right? Like his personality doesn't transfer to the Shinju, right? Or like, how do I put it? Jura is like his own personality, right? Is the Ten Tails, but he takes the look of that guy. So he's not particularly associated with him. Whereas Sasuke, he has like a direct mission to go after Sarada, because it's Sasuke and they're linked together in that way. The same goes for Moegi, Bug, Ryu, right? Like those ones, they're all intermixed with one another. You know what I'm saying? Where the personality transfers over to the Shinju, and that's what makes them go after Sarada, go after Konohamaru, But as of right now, it's based on any two things. It's the Claw Grimes haven't evolved enough, or she's not strong enough to become a Shinju, right? But then she would just turn into a tree anyways. So it's a little bit weird to understand the question. Or maybe she just barely gets bit, or like it's not deep enough. I don't know. Maybe there's a time limit to it, how long that they basically bite you for, how strong it has to be of a bite. I guess it could be the factor, but it is interesting that she got bit and nothing happened. So there is a way to kind of deal with it, or maybe push away from it or avoid it happening. But the fact that it didn't happen is what raises some eyebrows. Is she immune to it? Are there people who can be immune to it? If they are, then they could probably take on the claw grimes without fear of it. So learning that, is probably the interesting part of it. Or is it because she's a sensory ninja? Do different type of chakras or different type of shinobi, kind of avoid that problem, right? So if we take into account all of the Shinju that have transformed, they're more combat types, right? Sasuke's a combat type. Moegi's a combat type, I think. Let me think here. Ryu's a combat type, right? They're all heavy fighters. She's a sensory ninja. So I guess you could look at it that way as well. So when you see this, I'm just, my eyebrows raised to it is that like, oh, maybe she's immune to it because she's not as strong enough to become a Shinju. Or she is strong enough to become a Shinju, but the claw grime just isn't developed or doesn't have the Rinnegan or hasn't progressed far enough like the others have to transform whoever they bite into a tree, right? Into one of the Shinju. So it's going to be interesting to see who later on down the line gets bitten by a claw grime, or if any more Shinju pop up, if anybody else transforms into a Shinju. It'll be interesting to see, just to kind of get an idea of like, oh, Yodo got bit, but then this other person transformed, so that means that they're stronger than her, and vice versa, or the claw grime has progressed far enough. We still don't know all the details about it, but that was something I saw and I thought was cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah.